guys are here to hear about the athletes and to learn a couple of the backstories here. So I want to start us off first by just saying thank you to some of the people in the room for being here, the Hanson's group for being here, Keith and Kevin and their families and the whole team, and then the Brooks Beast Track Club, Coach Danny Mackey, and the rest of the group here. And it's just been great working with these two programs, and they both meet together here in Eugene to try to accomplish the same goals. And so it's been an interesting ride all the way to Eugene, as it always is. And so kind of want to get one of the hardest things out of the way first. You know, this morning we got to the track and got news from Nick that Nick Simmons will not be competing tomorrow in the prelims. His ankle's not holding up the way he wanted it to, and it's a real bummer. And so I'm not the right person to speak to that. I wanted to ask Danny really quick to speak to that. Coach Danny Mackey at the Brooks Beast, he'll give you a quick rundown, and then Nick will be available afterwards for questions for anybody to ask questions. But yeah, Coach, you got 2 cents?
Yeah, so I was in Albuquerque for altitude camp like 3 weeks ago, and then Nick, Kaz, and Drew were doing 200, 100, 4 sets of that, and then his ankle was a little irritated, and that was the only feedback I got, and he ran the next day. It's fine. Then Thursday when he tried to go a little quicker, then it was intense pain. And so 2.5 weeks ago I got MRI, and they had, basically it's I can make this in 20 seconds. So he has a grade 2 strain in one of his ligaments, and then it's pulling on the bone, so there's a little edema in the bone. If you're in an NBA, it's called high ankle sprain. It shows up like a little bit of like a stress reaction. Grade 2 is like a partial tear, not completely torn. That's why he can like walk on it. And so for 2 weeks, cross-trained. Nick and I probably rode over 100 miles together on the bike, trying to get him going. He's doing really intense pull workouts. He got some fairly painful injections to help with the pain in his ankle last week or 2 weekends ago. And then we tried running this morning, striding, and it just, like, I couldn't even watch him run. It was hard to see it. So there's no way he can make it on the track. Really bad timing. So if we had a couple more weeks, we could probably pull it off, because it sounds weird, but the more frustrating part about it is before he got hurt, he was in way better shape than he was last year. I think I know Drew and Kaz have a really good chance of making the team. And where Nick was at relative to his 144.5 when he won was a little bit better. So I don't know what other athletes would do, but yeah, I was expecting to be 143 higher. So who knows, a place that gets into those champs, it usually wins. So it's really sad. It's sad for Brooks because he's a massive athlete for the company. It's sad for me as a coach just because we have learned a lot from working with him. I think it's more heartbreaking because of what he does for the sport. And he's one of the few athletes that I would say, if he makes a team, it's better for everybody else. Doesn't matter what logo they have on their jersey and what team they're from. So there's a reason why he's a 2-time Olympian, but people really pay attention to him. And there's a reason why we're talking about it right now, because he's not just good at running. So yeah, hopefully this is not the last you see from him. That's what I'll say about it.
That's a good transition, because
I feel good about it. I think a lot of it just had to do with the timing of the trials and some of the future goals that I have. It wasn't a super easy decision. Like, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, you just couldn't wait to get out of BYU. You just couldn't wait to get out of school." And that wasn't the case. I just kind of felt like I felt in high school, where I started feeling like I was starting to squeeze every last ounce I could out of the experience. I feel like there's a big leap that I can make, and that's to be made. And so I felt like getting to an environment like here, where it's in Seattle with the Brooks Beast Track Club, is going to be really good for me. And it's going to help me make that next leap, just for a lot of reasons. And so that was, again, it wasn't an easy decision, but all of that went into what led me to come out early and join the Brooks Beast.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, and so the trend, as we saw here, with the new additions of all in the back with Brandon, you know, with Kaz Loxam, who made the team last year, with Drew, who's had a great season, and with Nick Simmons, the seasoned veteran, Did that play into your decision at all? Or, you know, maybe a little. Like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
does that feel? Join that
Yeah,
team.
I mean it's kind of insane. I was going over, and now add Isaac to that list. You know, I was just going over the middle distance group that the Booksbeasts are going to have, and you know, absolutely seeing 2 of the 3 spots on the world team filled by Beast last year was, in my mind, it was like, okay, that's where I need to be. Something good is going on there. You know, Kaz ran 144 in the semi. He looked really good in the semifinals last year. Looked really good doing it. Drew, it's just run 145.6 just a couple weeks ago, and I mean, everyone's running well, and it's a really solid group. Kaz, as a training partner, I've had dreams about that. It sounds really nice to run some 400s with them, and so yeah, just a lot of things coming together. You know, they got the distance 800 guys, but they have the speed 800 guys as well, and the vibes of, you know, yourself and Coach in the back, Coach Mackey. It just all seemed to feel really right, and like it was the right time for me.
That's you know, how does that feel? How does that initially, you know, get there?
It's really exciting. I think first and foremost, it's just really exciting to have just new talent on the team, and one of them was a former teammate of mine. So I've been on kind of both ends of being the young kid showing up at Penn State and kind of helping push the older guys that were kind of getting maybe complacent a little bit, like to new levels. Like I think that helped push us to success. And then on the other end, I got to my senior year and kind of had this new upstart freshman come in and really challenge me my senior year of college, and that was Brandon Kidder. So again, we've come full circle to another cycle where I'm kind of taking over as the oldest on the team in this group, and going to try to kind of play more of a leadership role there. And I have Kira coming in again, and Shaq with just incredible speed coming in. Can't get complacent as our default DMR 400 leg anymore, so we might have to run up for that spot. But it's really exciting. That kind of stuff and this kind of change helps elevate all performances around the group to a new level. And I think one of the most important parts about the group that we're bringing in is they're all really good people. And I think we put a really big emphasis on getting the right people in this group, not only from an athletic standpoint, but from a just kind of like people who are going to come in and be good influences on the team and really positive, and kind of help elevate each other. I think that's really the special part of our group, and it's always been like one of our core values is to kind of surround the team with people that are going to be really positive and just kind of build each other up. I mean, there's a lot of people that maybe are injured. Like, there's always going to be times where you're not always firing on full cylinders, but we have people here that aren't going to be lining up that have contributed to the success and will be a big part of the reason why we do well at this meeting.
Yeah, and so you and Nick were on that team last year, made a team together, and I know that was a big part of you getting there, was Nick being part of that. So here you are, 3rd place last year, rolling into 2016. Where's your mindset? What are you looking for? What are the goals this week, this coming week?
I mean, obviously the goals are to get on the team. I'm really excited about how training's been going. It's been kind of a rocky up and down 2016 for me, but it hasn't been one where I've missed a lot of training with injury. It hasn't been one where I feel like my fitness is behind it all. We kind of weren't able to do as much specific work early on as we wanted to, but I think there was a lot more of a strength component, and a lot of the way we've been going about training this year is going to kind of come out a little bit more in the rounds. It's one thing to be able to run a good one-off performance, but having the experience, having gone through these rounds before, I think that'll play to my benefit, and I think it'll be a little easier to just kind of like for my body to remember what it's done before. And Nick's just been a great role model throughout this whole process, and I'm really disappointed he's not getting to line up, but if I'm successful, he will have been a large part of that. So.
It was 150 field, but now the field's much bigger, so I don't know what it is. So, but Jake's up here to talk a little bit about the 10K, and Jake and Bobby actually ran back in February at the marathon trials. So, first question I got to ask Jake is how's the last 4 months been? What do your guys' calendars look like from February 13th to getting here and like racing the 10K? How's that looked?
Well, there was a 2-week period of mourning for kind of a really rough trial segment. The heat really hit me hard, and I kind of faded a little bit towards the end there, and so I had to kind of regroup from that a little bit. And then you know, I mean, I think you've seen some of the carnage with a lot of the guys that ran that marathon. You've seen lots of injuries with a bunch of people that competed there. And so trying to stay out of that, just talking with Keith and Kevin, we decided to make this more of a very strength-oriented 10K training segment. So, I mean, this will be my first race on the track for this segment, and that was very deliberate. I find that I get a little beaten up if I try and do too much track work. You know, Achilles pain, all sorts of old injuries flaring up. So we focused on just doing really long, strength-oriented stuff. I think because it looks like this year's field, you know, a lot of like the big names have kind of gone out. There's a chance for this to be a little bit of a quicker race than it has been in the past, and potentially more of a strength wins out type of thing. So hopefully, our strength focus in this training segment will help me stay competitive towards the end there.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you have a unique advantage of, you have 3 teammates running in the same race as you, which I can't think of anybody else that has it. So how does that feel to know you have 3 other guys warming up with you, 3 other guys getting on the line with you, hurting with you, going through that? What's the difference? How does that feel? Because you ran here in 2012 as from Stanford grad, you know, so what's the difference? How does that feel?
It's just, it just makes everything mentally easier. I feel like when you have someone there to talk to, it sort of helps to calm down the nerves. When you have, you know, it's just like going out to warm up for any other race, because, you know, I warm up with Bobby for every workout we've done all spring. So, yeah, I think the teammates just, they create an air of familiarity, and you know, you see them next to you in the race, and if they look good, you're like, well, I've been doing the same workouts this guy's been doing for the last 2.5 months, so I should be feeling good. It gives you more incentive to try and move up and help someone if it looks like, you know, they're ahead of you, and hopefully I do the same for them if I'm leading them. You know, maybe we have to trade laps every once in a while if we somehow end up in the lead, which has definitely happened in the past. But yeah, I think it's just, it's hard for people who don't do a lot of distance running to understand how much of a difference pack running and running in a group makes. But it really just makes everything easier. So I'm really happy to be here with some of you guys.
Oh, that's great. You guys have been doing that for years, and I think that's why there's 4 guys here. So,
Coach Atanas and I, we were kind of going by feel this year. Didn't really want to focus on indoors, even though they were here for Indoor Worlds and had an awesome shot at making the team. But kind of decided, hey, you know what? Probably the most important thing is the thing that comes around every 4 years, so we should look to that. And going into Gotsis, this place in Austria, is one of the biggest international competitions. Maybe one of the most well-known decathlons and heptathlons are done there. The previous world record before Ashton set it here in Hayward was set there by Ronan Chevrolet. So it just has a really rich culture with a bunch of fans who get there really early in the morning. They know all our stats, they have photos. There's like, you know, you dole out probably 100 signatures a day for all these kids who are super excited, and they're beer gardens, you know, from sun up to sundown. So everyone's having a good time. So I was like, you know what, why don't we go have a good time and see where this training's at for this year. And that's exactly what we did, just to kind of see what kind of weaknesses I had, where my strengths were, and kind of balancing from then to trials where my areas of focus were going to be. So Gotsis didn't play out as, I mean, it was a good meet. I improved my place from the year before, from 6th to 4th this year, so that was cool, but definitely just set me up with a better knowledge of where I am going into trials, and I feel just, you know, way better going into this meet.
yeah, so you feel way better. I know there was some weather there as well, but
Yeah.
you feel way better, and the weather actually looks good for the next couple of days.
Mhm.
When you look at the competition, you see what it's going to take to make the team. I mean, who are you looking at, and what do you think it's going to take? Is it going to be harder than last year? Is it going to be, you know, I mean, usually in the Olympic year it is, but what's out there?
Yeah, I mean, every time you get to this track especially, and it's across all events, it's just you don't know what people are going to do, but people are going to show up regardless. So like every meet, you know, you have to bring whatever you have. So this year it's going to take a pretty good score to make the team, at least in 3rd. So, you know, my focus is mostly on like, all right, you know, I was 3rd in 2013 out of college, I was 2nd last year. Why don't I just go for 1st this year, you know, and just, if I'm, you know, in the top 3, that's what happens if I'm going for that. The biggest thing for this year is, I think of the whole decathlon field, there might be 6 or 7 of us with the Olympic standard, and it's been a while since the field's been that stacked, so it should be pretty.
Love the distance, it's wonderful. You gotta kind of keep grounded and realize that the 800 is what is run at the Olympics and World Championships, so it's a really fun event. I think it just plays well to a mix between speed and endurance, and it's a good kind of middle event between those two skill sets. So I think it's a really good test of kind of like you can get 400 runners versus 800 runners, and it's just a cool battleground that you don't get to see very often. I started running the 600 at the state meet my freshman year of high school. We had it as an indoor track event, and then we had it at the Big Ten level, and we had it. So I've probably run 30, 40, 50, 600s in my career. Like I can't think of someone who's run more 600s. So it's just it's just always been something that's been a kind of commonplace in my training more so.
Does it help you in your build up to 800 outdoors?
Yeah, it's a fun thing. We were a little behind on speed endurance, and I think that's a big part of the reason I raced 2 600s and made that such a point. The finals are going to go out fast, and it's really good to prepare your body to know that it can handle to be in contention with 200 to go. I think a big part of the reason we do it is to just kind of almost trick your mind into knowing that you can get out and you can go out in 50-point field. It lets you go out faster and more comfortably and more confidently. I think that's a big training, and it's also really good speed endurance training. So. No, it doesn't worry me at all. That's the great thing about having this team. So I mean, we kind of had to make adjustments in training and racing plan to fit this as the end goal of kind of peaking up for this. And I don't necessarily feel like I need to run an 800 when you have Drew Windle out here PRing by second, running 1:45.6. I mean, like, we do all of our training together, and like, there's been indicators in other areas other than like performances I've gone out and like races I've gone out and done, and just Drew running that fast was honestly a really good confidence builder, and that was one of the key indicators that kind of told me I was where I needed to be.
Was there anything specific that like went wrong in either of those races, or?
I mean, I got second by 100th second the first race here in Eugene. It was just kind of a windy day. We went out slow. It just wasn't that fast of a race, and I got disqualified.
Right, but you ran like I think it was 1:47, which.
Yeah, the rabbit took us out in 22.9, so that's how that day.
Alright.
Nick's been a really one of the key things that he's kind of preached over the years is just kind of being there when it matters, kind of like transitioning into being like more of a championship racer and less of a time trialer. And I was always a pretty good runner. I was never a very good racer, and a lot of it I think was just allocating my emotional energy correctly and like not getting too excited or hyped up over early season things. This is kind of like square one for most people, and there's obviously like good indicators and like building blocks and stuff you like to see leading into meets like this, but this is really the first meet that really like counts for something huge this year, you know, in track and field specifically, you know. At this stage you kind of are looking to get on teams, make finals, win medals. That's kind of like the pinnacle of it, and you don't get to do any of that until US Championships every year. So that's a pretty good timeline for setting like the focus of your training and not compromising and just not letting stuff get in your head before this weekend.